We've seen what to do when a promise resolves successfully, but not what to do to handle the error. We do have a function in place and we have some parameters, but what type of data can we actually get to? Well, we could certainly add a new property to the scope and maybe take some of this data and then bind it into the view. We could pop up an alert or maybe just log it to the console. And then if we hit the F12 developer tools, we could view that. And that's what I'm actually going to show here is how we can log our errors so that we can see them a little easier. So AngularJS provides a service called log, and I'm going to go ahead and add a reference to that here. And all you have to do is say log dot, and then one of the functions you can call is log, and it takes a string. Now the challenge here though is what do we do with this data? How do we even know what's in it? Well, one option is we could certainly go to the AngularJS documentation, but another is just a really quick and easy way, and that's to trigger an error and just set a breakpoint in the browser and view these different parameters. So to make that possible, in server.js, you can see I've changed what was returning customers to just return a 500 error with a pretty lame error message. An error has occurred, not one of my favorites. But that'll work for our purposes. So let me go ahead and run this. Now I've already started my node server with the updated server code. And now we'll pull up the browser, run off to our home page here. And you can see we get an error, so let's hit F12. And what I'm going to do is come in to customer's controller, and let's set a breakpoint right there and see what we have. So let's refresh that. All right, so our breakpoint's hit. Data, you'll see, has an error property. You can see an error has occurred. That's the error from the server. Status is going to be a 500 error. Of course, that's what was sent from the server, as you just saw. And then headers and config, you may or may not need. Headers is a function you can call into to get information about headers. And then config will give you things like what was the method used to call. You can also get headers here. This is going to be kind of general headers, you'll see. And you can also get the URL that was called. So you can also get headers and config up in the success if you'd like, as well as status. But I usually just do data and status, even in the error function. But I wanted to show all four of these. All right, so now we know what we're after. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the breakpoint, head back to the code, and let's just go ahead and log data.error, and then we'll do a plus, just an empty space here, plus the status code. And that'll just log it to the console, as you'll see. So let's come on back, we'll refresh it, run off to the console, and there we go. An error has occurred, 500. Now, log can be used in testing in different scenarios, so it's kind of nice because you can substitute in different areas to log to. But it's also useful when you're running the app, as you just saw, to do the equivalent of a console.log, but kind of the Angular way. So that's an example of one thing we can do as an error has occurred and how we can use the log service.